What's up, guys? It's Mason Fowler. I'm the current defending UFC BJJ 205-pound champion. We are literally 4 or 5 days out from my last title defense, where I had a terrible training camp. And anyone that's watching, I'm not trying to make excuses or anything like that, just trying to let you guys know kind of the ins and outs of what we deal with as athletes. And also, I want to give a big shout out to my man, Dr. Dino. That's one of the main reasons we're filming this, because he helped me out a lot in that camp. And so we just want to walk you guys through kind of some of the training camps, some of the injuries that we were dealing with, and some of the mental and physical ways that we prepared for going into the match.
So, talk about the weeks that led up to traveling to Vegas.
Well, the weeks leading up, man, we went through a bit of a whirlwind for this one, huh? So I got a text. I was out of town, actually, and I get a text from Mason. He said, hey, I had an injury. He didn't really say anything too specific, but was like, I really need to get in. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be in on Sunday. You want to come by like late Sunday night? And Mason was like, yeah, I'll come in late Sunday night. So I knew it was something serious because, to come in late on Sunday with his match coming up. So he came in, and man, like I could tell you weren't even walking right when you walked in. You could just tell that something was wrong. And doing what I do, I knew you had a bad back injury. So then I just asked kind of, how it happened and how it had been since then and where your head was at the time.
Yeah, so in general, the entire training camp was by far the worst training camp I've ever had for any type of athletic competition whatsoever. I had to deal with 2 injuries. One of them was farther out, and one of them was literally within the month of the event. And so, essentially, like I said this before to many people, that if it wasn't for Dr. Dino, I would not have been competing. No way. Because where my head was at, I had to pull out. My back was so bad. And somehow he knew. He was like, hey man, I've seen this before. Let's, do the rehab for maybe like 2-3 weeks, get the inflammation down, and let's start getting your cardio going. And I think you're going to be able to fight for sure. So really all the thanks to Dr. Dino and for keeping me on track physically and mentally. And we were able to go to Vegas and get the win.
Man, what a stressful couple weeks though leading up to it, especially probably that first 10 days that I worked with you, where it was like, okay, I'm in so much pain, I can hardly walk, I can't lift. So we had to completely change like your strength and conditioning game plan. And we were at a point where I think for the first 10 days, I was like, look, Mason, if we just don't do any jiu-jitsu at all, like don't drill, don't lift, I think in 10 days, we're going to get you to the point where you're good enough to start training. But then then you got like 10, 12 days left before you're heading out to Vegas. So that timeline was like razor's edge of how much time we had to get you ready for this.
We didn't have an extra day.
No.
We didn't have an extra day. The day that we set, that we were like, okay, this day we need to drill. This day we need to be able to train light. We were like barely making each day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that first day that we said you were able to drill was the Monday before the UFC promotion came out to videotape it.
Yeah.
So you were like, okay, can I drill a little bit today? You drilled a little bit on Monday, but then you came back from that and you were even nervous. You're like, well, they're going to be here in 2 days. And that didn't feel great.
For sure. Yeah, so we had the UFC, they wanted to come and film my training, but then I couldn't train. So then we were like, fuck, what do we do? These guys are going to be here with cameras. So luckily we were able to, that was like the first day that I was able to get some training in. And then same thing, got everything worked on. It would get inflamed. We would work on it. We would rest. And then the next day would be sore. We would rest. And then after 2 days, we would be able to do a little more training. So yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, and it was stressful for you, right? Because also you're like, okay, this needs to stay within my team right now.
Yeah.
So I don't really want it to get out that I have this injury. So, outside of coaches, training partners, and me, like no one knew you were hurt. Like the UFC production didn't come and they were like, oh man, he has a bad injury. We don't even know if he's going to be able to make the fight or not. So that was all up in the air.
And then the other like super stressful thing too, for me personally, is that like, I didn't want to like pull out at the last minute. But at the same time, that's, you don't really know if you're going to pull out or not until it starts getting closer, because in your head, you're like, okay, if I can start training 4 weeks out, I'm going to compete. And then 4 weeks out comes and you're not training. And then it's like, okay, if I can train 2 weeks out, I'm still going to compete. So the whole time we were being hopeful, but I personally was very scared about like pulling out at the last minute. And luckily we didn't have to.
And, the other thing that we were working on also, again, we're trying to get you better, but we didn't want to set you back at all. So we had to kind of do some sprints, some interval type of work with you here to try to get your conditioning to the point where, if nothing else, it was a little bit fake it till you make it, right? Like you probably knew like you weren't really in your top cardio shape, but it was like we did enough that you felt it a few times and you're like, okay, now, after this, I think I can get through it.
I knew the pace. I knew the pace of the 3 5-minute rounds. We did a lot of 3 5-minute rounds on the airdyne bike. And so that gave me the confidence where I knew exactly when I had to start resting a little bit, and I knew when I could push a little bit. So that, it was perfect.
Maybe talk about like the mental aspect for you, Dr. Dino, how you keep like a high performing athlete in check and confident.
Dealing with someone, especially with this, because not only it was a serious injury, there was a timeline, and this is professional. This isn't like I can just cancel. I paid $100 to enter this. This is important for his career. So really trying to and again, at the end of the day, this wasn't my call on if he was going to do the fight or not. I was just telling him, hey, based on my experience, I think you'll be good enough to train in 10 days. That was kind of what we had to deal with. And I think just every day when Mason would come in, and there were a lot of times where, especially that first week or so, he was looking at me kind of like, dude, I don't know if I believe you or not.
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? How am I going to be competing in 3 weeks? Like, I can't walk.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing, was having those timelines. Okay, so by next Monday, we're going to drill light. Okay, shoot. Well, the BJJ productions are coming on Wednesday. Okay, well then Wednesday, we're going to train a little bit harder, and you're going to kind of fake it till you make it in front of them, right? And just show them like, hey, I can move, but maybe I'm not at my top, but nobody else knew, right? Still only us and your training partners knew with all that. And then to say, I think it was the Friday and the Monday after that, it's like, okay, those 2 practices, which was pretty much the week you're leaving for Vegas, we got to hit 100% on those ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was all that we had to work with. And, with my experience, I don't know for sure, right? I'm still kind of rolling the dice. Like, I felt confident. I've seen this enough times, especially with low back pain. Like, the first day, Mason has a great crew of other people he could have help him with injuries. But when it comes to spine stuff, he knew like, okay, this is probably in Dino's wheelhouse the most. So I was confident that we could at least get him out of pain, but he also had to do literally everything that I told him to do. So it was, I think
6 times a day.
Yeah, 6 times a day you were doing your exercise. Every 2 hours you had a routine. It was like, okay, at home, just chill. Every 2 hours you're going to do these. Then you came into the office every single day for 16 straight days. So, again, you talk about the commitment of an athlete, not just to their training, but to Mason. He knew this was going to be a tough opponent, but he also was confident enough to be like, all right, look, if I can just have a little bit of cardio, I can probably make this happen. And he did it.
Also changing, like, we changed like everything. Like, even I play a lot of video games. I moved my whole gaming setup so that I could play while I was laying down in bed, just to like not put any stress on my lower back. So we really went through like every single possible situation. We talked about going on walks and how many walks is too many, where it's going to be stressful instead of loosening it up. What stretches can we do? What stretches should we stay away from? Like every single thing, even like sleep quality. We talked about a lot of different things, and we really dialed in every single aspect of my life to make sure that I was going to heal as fast as possible.
Yeah. And we were hitting them with everything we have. We have this big high tech, it's called Shockwave unit, and it has focused shockwave that goes really deep and penetrates and helps with the healing aspect. And we were utilizing that. Traditionally, with my background, I'm a doctor of chiropractic, but I didn't do any of the adjusting on them. I didn't do spinal manipulation, not once, just because I knew that given what we were working with, if we stayed the course and just stuck with the active care, the exercise, the shockwave, the muscle work, that he would be a lot better. But the adjustment, I kind of wanted to use that, but I was like, shoot, it's rolling the dice, so let's not do it. Let's just stick with what we know is going to work.
Maybe talk about Dr. Dino and Mason, even like the discipline it takes to go through like physical therapy and why it matters to be disciplined within physical therapy.
And that's why it's so important. Even if you are a regular everyday person, whether you're like a weekend warrior or if you just like to work out at the gym regularly, it's really important that whenever you guys are dealing with an injury, you guys are very, very disciplined with your physical therapy. Because if you look at someone like me, where I needed to heal to a certain percentage because of my career, so obviously I put a lot of emphasis on doing my physical therapy, but it does work and you will heal a lot faster. And that's like one of the number one things that I tell people is like, hey, you have to do your physical therapy. Even if you don't have access to someone like Dr. Dino, if you're, find some physical therapy program online or whatever it may be, you have to do the physical therapy. You have to do it every day. You have to do it multiple times a day. And if that's the case, there's a good chance you will get better, and there's a really good chance that you won't re-injure your injury once again.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of that, Mason, again, working with someone who understands your sport too is super important. Like, I understand the demands of jiu-jitsu, and I know what positions that you're going to get into that are going to make you more susceptible to an injury and less susceptible. So we talked about kind of, like you said, the things you can do on your own at home every day, but also a little bit what to do in training, what to do before training, what to do after training. So just the commitment on all of that, I think was enough to put you over the edge that we got you where you need to go. But like you said, sometimes people don't always have access. Like, I've competed a lot in jiu-jitsu. I'm a brown belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I'm a black belt in judo. I wrestled my whole life. So I really understand the demands of the sport. And also I have an online consulting company now, where if you are in town and maybe you're watching this and maybe your back hurts and you're like, well, shoot, I have this BJJ tour comp that's coming up and man, I've really trained hard. I want to go to it. They can go to my company, Matlete.com, and they can do a consultation with me, and I can at least point them in the right direction and tell them what things they should be doing, what things they shouldn't be doing, even though I'm not physically there to put my hands on them.
Yeah, and something that I want to do for myself that we're going to start talking about as well moving forward is, like now I'm 33, and so I don't want to just start rehabbing things whenever I get injured. So our goal moving forward is going to be to try to create some type of program. It's probably going to be like back, neck, shoulders, and knees, because I think those are like the most common injuries that we're going to get in jiu-jitsu or any type of grappling sport. And to do more of like a prehab. So every day, either the beginning or the end of the day, just spending, even if it's just 10 to 15 minutes on doing some simple exercises that are going to be very beneficial for preventing injuries. That's my personal next goal in my athletic career. I want to do 10 to 15 minutes per day of small exercises just to help me from getting injured, because obviously as you start getting older, you start getting more and more susceptible to injuries. But this is something I wish I was even doing in my 20s, because I used to always have a lot of problems with my knees, with my shoulders when I was younger, tearing ligaments, and so I think this is going to be the next step for me in my own personal athletic career.
Well, and it's nice to have a little bit of time now, because I'm assuming you don't have a next fight date. So now we can really just specifically dial this in and be like, okay, let's get you as bulletproof as we possibly can. And then you'll have hopefully the best camp you've ever had your next time around.
Yeah, so you guys keep an eye out. We're going to hopefully formulate something that we can also share with you guys. And if you guys are anywhere in the San Jose Bay Area, you guys can come check out Dr. Dino. He's in Los Gatos at California Strength. And if not, you guys can also contact him online. He does online consulting as well. So I put my life in his hands, and it worked out. And he got me to the fight when I didn't think I was going to be able to fight myself. So I can vouch for him 1,000,000%.